Hey, so hi, it's Dr. Glenn Davies for Reversal NZ Lifestyle Medicine Clinic and Reverse T2 Diabetes Topor. And this morning I'm here with Liana, and Liana is going to talk to us about mindfulness. So I'll let you introduce yourself.
All right. Well, hello everyone. My name's Liana. I've just recently moved to Kinloch and suddenly discovered that Glenn is my neighbour, which is very, very cool. I've been doing holistic healing and for many, many years, and I'll just share with you how I came how mindfulness came into my life. So quite a few years ago in Auckland now, I was running a women's holistic networking group, and I had this lovely lady, Glenn, called Glenda actually, who came to talk to us about mindfulness.
Yeah.
And everyone had been hearing about this mindfulness, and none of us knew much about it. Anyway, as soon as this woman walked into the room, I thought, wow, she just had this real sense of peacefulness about her. So I was intrigued. So anyway, it was when Glenda was sharing with us, one of the benefits of practicing mindfulness is that we become so much more self-compassionate and self-kind.
Right.
Well, I was hooked. I was so curious because most of my adult life I've meditated, but I had been working so hard to be nicer to myself, and nothing I tried had worked.
Right.
And so I began to do some courses and I did some study, and then I was invited by Glenda to actually teach mindfulness myself. And what I discovered was, sure enough, without trying to change anything or fix anything, but just practicing mindfulness, my sense of well-being grew so much. I became, and I have become, so much more self-compassionate, because that was my problem. I was my own worst enemy. I was so hard on myself. So then I got really excited to have the opportunity to teach and coach others, because it was transforming for me.
Oh, amazing. So do you have a simple definition of quite a complex topic?
Actually, when I talk to people about it, I actually like to give them a definition from an awesome guy called John Kabat-Zinn.
John Kabat-Zinn. Okay,
Yes.
go.
And he, in the 1980s in Massachusetts, with a medical hospital, did a trial. He ran the MBSR program, which you may have heard of, the Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction Program.
Okay.
And he trialed this for 8 weeks with people who had really, really intense depression and anxiety.
Right.
And after they surveyed these people,
Yes.
they had some amazing results.
Okay.
And again, they trialed it with people with chronic fatigue. So this is how mindfulness kind of came from the Buddhist traditions,
Right.
and it was brought to all of us, and it's very secular. It's just something that anyone can actually take on and explore for themselves. Anyway, his definition, it's a bit long, but I'll break it down.
Okay.
Mindfulness means paying intentional attention in the present moment with no judgment.
Okay.
So let's look at paying intentional attention.
Okay.
And I'm actually going to ask you to do something.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you in a moment to just look down at the palms of your hands. But before you do, Glenn, I want you to notice that thought, that your intention to do so. So notice that. Now I would like you to look down at the palms of your hands and notice all the lines on the palms of your
I have
hands.
to put my glasses on.
You will go for that, mate. Yep. And notice the shape of your fingers and the mottled colours. Turning your hands over, just notice your knuckles and the shape of your hands. Notice any thoughts that might be coming in, coming in as you do this. And then come back to looking at your wrists and all the veins that might be popping out or spots you might have. Now, thank you, looking up, you just paid intentional attention.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like in my handbag looking for my keys. First example, where are my keys? Oh, I'm going to be late. Versus, oh, keys.
Yeah.
So just really, really being attentive. And so paying intentional attention in the present moment. Well, that's a goodie, isn't it?
Yeah.
So in mindfulness, we practice always coming back to the present moment, because I'd like you to just think back on everything that you did up to this moment, us talking in the glass house. It has no bearing whatsoever on us sitting here now, does it?
Not at all.
It's gone
No.
and it's done. And the future, well, it never really comes. We just go from this moment to the next moment, to the next moment. So in mindfulness, using our inherent awareness, which we all have, we actually do our best to bring ourselves back to the now, to the present moment.
Yeah.
So paying intentional attention in the present moment, non-judgmentally. Now that's a goodie as well.
Yeah.
When you were looking at your hands, did any thoughts come in?
Yeah. I mean, I can see sun damage.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I had a whole lot of thought about all the years that I didn't do sunscreen, which is not being kind, eh?
Yes, and no, it's not being kind. But I asked you to notice that judgment, then come back to looking at your wrists. So once again in mindfulness, it's allowing the judgments to come up, because that's what our thinking does. We're not going to stop our mind from thinking, but we don't latch onto them. We let them come and pass on through.
Yeah.
So, mindfulness, paying intentional attention in the present moment.
Yeah.
Non-judgmentally. So that's sort of one little example. Another one could be using all of our senses.
Yes.
Not all of them. There's all the senses. So there's many definitions. But it's a lovely practice, and there's two parts to mindfulness. There's a formal aspect to mindfulness and an informal practice.
Okay.
Now the formal practice is either called formal mindfulness practice or meditation.
Yes.
And when people are beginning to explore this, we just suggest that people might sit still for about 12 minutes a day and listen to a guided meditation, because that's easy to start with.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we meditate, lots of wonderful things start to happen. We begin to open up, the frontal neural pathways, and when we meditate, our brains and our bodies are so incredible. When we meditate, what happens is our brain will release the exact amount of hormones we need, so that our breathing relaxes, and we start to sort of relax more, and our blood pressure can drop.
Yes.
Just by coming into that stillness.
Sure.
And when we meditate, it helps us with the second part of our practice, which is informal practice, going about our daily lives, noticing, being present, coming back into the moment.
Yeah.
So there's these sort of two parts, and they need each other, because they support, the meditation really supports the informal practice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. So who would you say would really benefit from mindfulness training?
Oh gosh, I think everyone can. Who doesn't experience stress and pain and all these other difficult emotions that we that as humans come into our lives in and out? Absolutely. And often we latch onto them, and it becomes a cycle. With mindfulness, there's this opportunity to actually allow the emotions or the stress to come in, and with our inherent awareness, acknowledge it and allow it to move out. Yeah. So it's about not resisting things. It's about a sense of allowing, and learning tools to help us hold space for that emotion, because we are not our emotions.
No.
The emotions are something that come in through us and they move out again.
Yeah.
So for instance, someone might say, I'm a really angry person. No, that person isn't angry. They're just someone that experiences a lot of anger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you have a habit of not being kind to yourself, you'd be someone who would really benefit.
Absolutely.
And I imagine somebody who is experiencing a lot of anxiety or worry or concern, they would also benefit.
Very much so. Very much so.
What about like low mood? Is it going to be helpful for that?
Very much so. And again, we can go actually into, you'd know more about this, but the science of what things like meditation and mindfulness does. As you know, we have that part of our brain, that reptilian part of our brain, the amygdala, which is sort of like when we were, a caveman, we had to run from the saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah.
So, and I think for a lot of people, we don't have those physical threats now, but we have a lot of other threats and stresses. Some of them are real and some of them aren't.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have this part of the brain switched on constantly. They don't know how to turn it off.
Yeah.
And through the meditation and mindfulness, because the meditation works with parts of your brain that will actually open up pathways which will help us release the the rest and digest and lovely hormones that will actually relax us, I think actually most people could benefit from it.
Is there a like people who want to just experiment or just have a little play with it? Is there a simple exercise that you can do? Anyone can do without doing formal training?
Oh, absolutely. Let me think. I actually one thing that we need, I mentioned, there's two things we need when we practice mindfulness: inherent awareness, which we all have, and our body. Because if you think about it, think about your thinking, your mind. Our mind takes us all sorts of places. It takes us to the past, it takes us to the future, it can just go off on tangents. Whereas if we come into the body we can trust, because the body is always in the present moment.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So my little technique I would sort of encourage people to explore maybe is, when you're at the supermarket or when you're standing in a line, notice where your thinking's going. You know, it's like you might be off getting, especially maybe I've done this before, cross because the queue's so long, or getting frustrated. Notice that, and just take all of your consciousness to the soles of your feet and take one breath. And as if you're breathing up from your feet and breathing down to the soles of your feet. And just consciously have a go at just actually catching yourself going off on a tangent or thinking in your head, and practice just actually bringing all of your attention to your soles of your feet. And that is very grounding.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, that's fantastic. So, you know, we've just had a little skim over the top of a complex topic, but I really do believe that mindfulness is part of lifestyle medicine for whatever condition you're dealing with. I don't think it's isolated to to stress and anxiety. I think this is part of everyday practice that we all and I imagine it allows you to experience more joy in your life, which in the end is probably what we're all about.
Absolutely. I cannot explain how delighted I am with the amount of well-being and joy that I can experience now, which I had tried to experience for many, many years. And I didn't try or fix or change anything. It's very much, you're right, mindfulness is about self-acceptance. As Carl Rogers says, you know, when we accept ourselves, then we can change.
Gotcha. Yeah. Hey, so thank you so much.
It's
a beautiful morning, and I will leave the rest of you to get on with your day. So thank you, Liana.